Britain's decision to ban sales of ivory in a bid to help preserve the world's dwelling elephant population has been welcomed by the world's conservation charities. 88% of Britain's parliament approved enforcing the ban. Britain's action points on illegal wildlife trade include fines and 5 years in jail, the maximum penalty for breaching the ban on commercial trade in raw ivory. The incoming ban has some exemptions, which are items with less than 10% ivory made prior to 1947, musical instruments with less than 20% ivory made before 1975, and portrait miniatures painted on thin silvers of ivory and which are at least 100 years old. However, the head of the NGO Task Trust says more work has to be done on an international level to reduce the demand for ivory and completely eradicate its trade.
In a sense, the UK and indeed other Western countries, the US and the EU, have been effectively complicit in the illegal ivory trade by having a confusing situation where a certain amount of trade of older pieces have been allowed, and that has enabled the criminal syndicates that drive this trade to exploit the loopholes in the law.
Charlie Mayhew, the chief executive Task Trust, notes that despite several interventions by the UK and several other Western countries, the US and the EU on illegal ivory trade, amounts of old pieces of ivory have been allowed, and that has enabled the criminal syndicates that drive this trade to exploit the loopholes in the law.
The illegal wildlife trade is now regarded as the fourth largest criminal activity in the world, behind drugs, arms and human trafficking. You know, it's the same sort of criminal networks that are exploiting all of these trades, and it is something that destabilizes developing countries. It creates insecurity. So I think the government and indeed the wider world is recognized that this has to be something that has to be tackled.
The illegal wildlife trade is now recognized as the fourth largest criminal activity in the world, behind drugs, arms and human trafficking. Measures to curb illegal wildlife trade, especially in Asian countries, have been proposed.
It's going to take time, particularly for Asian countries, for us to change the mindsets, and a lot of work has still got to be done on consumer demand reduction programs and education, that ivory and indeed other products like rhino horn and lion parts, pangolin, there are so many wildlife products, unfortunately, that are finding their way into the Far Eastern market. We have to really work hard with Asian governments to eradicate this trade.
The African elephant population has crashed from 1.3 million in 1979 to less than 400,000 left today. About 20,000 elephants every year are lost to poaching.
We've been losing about 20,000 elephants a year to poachers exploiting the illegal ivory trade. And the African elephant population has crashed from 1.3 million in 1979 to less than 400,000 left today. So that is completely unsustainable.
Rhino horn, lion parts, pangolin are among the most poached wildlife products. Britain say the international illegal wildlife trade was estimated to be worth up to £17 billion, which is $24 billion and 19.5 billion euros.